everyone. We're excited to welcome Robin Wilson to the podcast today. She has been in the automotive industry. Well, you tell us, Robin, for how long now?
Since 2014. So not as long as most old car dogs out there, but long enough to have ridden a couple of crazy cycles.
Yeah, and it almost feels like we might be in one right now. I'm not certain, but
it's hard to keep up.
Yeah. And then again, it feels that way to me every October, November, kind of trying to get us to December.
For sure.
You are working specifically in an arena that can be somewhat confusing to dealers. I'm working in a juxtaposed arena next door. Our two paths may cross a little bit, but we work with dealers quite often. The name of your company is Social Climber Pro.
Correct.
Can you tell our audience a little bit about what you do?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to take us on a zigzag path back to that in the end. But in the middle, we're going to have some exciting, interesting conversations about money. And I know a lot of the people that listen to us are from the West Coast and the Central US. This will probably pull in some East Coast listeners because they might be interested in that topic too. So we'll see.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I play in the social media arena. I have been doing organic social for dealerships since 2014 and paid social probably since 2015. And it really is, if you think about like 2014, dealers were so unaware of even that social media was something that they needed to consider. And generally, I spent more time cleaning up messes whenever I would go into a dealership because, my niece, she likes Facebook, so maybe she could run it. Like they wouldn't know where their assets were, who had the login to anything. They're like, we don't even know the login to Facebook. I'm like, there is no login to Facebook. You either are the admin of a page or you're not. And so we would spend a lot of time trying to regain their assets. And then once you get a hold of that, then it's like really working over the hurdle of, what's our ROI on organic social? And if you think about, the brand of a dealership, not Ford, not Chevy, not Cadillac, but what is your brand? If you are Jimmy Britt, what is Jimmy Britt? What is he about? What is the dealership about? What is their culture about? Tell us a story. Everyone does business with people, human beings that walk this earth every day, and not with buildings. And so if you keep thinking about your dealership like the building and the pavement where you have the vehicles held, then you think about your house as a house and not as a home, right? Because that it doesn't matter where you live. It's the people inside that make your house the home. It's the things that are in there that you're comfortable with. It's the way that you guys behave inside that house that make it a home. And it's the same with your dealership. And your social media is the media that is the platform that you use to tell those stories. And so organic social is my pulpit. Like that's what I preach all day long, every day. That's what I speak on. That's what I'm very passionate about. And I think that I think sometimes maybe it's too soft, right? We're used to 1980 car guys, screaming what a payment would be, or you got to get down here right now.
Sunday.
Only got one left. So we've got to get back to the way that the consumers are now consuming content and how they're making decisions on where they're going to shop for their next vehicle. And it really is the stories behind the dealership.
So it sounds like, first off, I was able to hear you speak. And so we're honored to have you on the show.
Thank you.
And in digging through some of the footage, I found some of the topics of conversation, but it's already evident to me and likely our listeners that you help dealers on a journey of self-discovery.
For sure.
And you might have been through one too, or not. And maybe today on the show, you'll help me with some of the things that I haven't figured out from a long time ago.
Sure.
But I wanted to start out with something I heard you speak about, the poverty mindset. And so I'm actually going to play a clip.
Sure.
And you might want to set us up with exactly where this was. You were talking about leadership and mindset. A lot of the people that listen to the show are general managers, dealer principals. Like I said, we do well on the West Coast and East Coast. Let me make sure I've got the right clip. It's queued up. Nope, that is not the right one. Let me try the other one. Feel free to wax poetic as production.
And that one that you had pulled up there, we were literally talking about, how you talk to yourself and the words that you say and the words that you hear and how they change your dynamics.
Okay, so here we are, and you are going to talk a little bit about the poverty versus scarcity mindset. I want the audience to hear what you're going to say, and then actually have you comment on the topic as well.
Sure. And I was at a dealership's monthly or quarterly kickoff event, speaking to a 5 rooftop group here.
Here, hold on one second. Go ahead and fill in the gaps there.
Yeah, I said I was at a dealership, a 5 rooftop group dealership, speaking at their quarterly kickoff meeting. And every member of the executive leadership team got to pick a speaker that they wanted to come speak. And one of the executive leadership teams, like, Robin has to come in and talk to our people. So that was really cool.
Yeah, and the framework you did there, I think I grew up with the mindset, the words, I don't it likely came from my parents. You can only move 2 stations above wherever you started from. Have you heard that before?
Yeah, and that's not true.
Well, it's not true. But there's that indoctrination that you go through as a child and through the different leaders that you work with in your lifetime, the very characteristics that they have. Did you indicated you came from a poverty mindset, a poverty experience as well? Is that fair? Or
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we were before they had, so like they have SNAP benefits now. Before that, it was food stamps. And before that, you had what was called commodities. And commodities were like this. I grew up in California, this big metal building where you had to bring your own box, and there was like this conveyor belt of food, and you got to pick the things that you were going to put into your box to take home, the groceries that you got to take home, and it was garbage. Like it was
okay.
it was the Velveeta cheese, it
Wow.
was
Yeah.
Karo syrup, dried prunes, powdered milk, this canned food of some sort that looked like Alpo dog food. I mean, it was like random crap, white bread. Like the things that they gave to the poor people were poor food. Wasn't anything that was nutritional to, it was just filling. There was no nutritional value. I mean, maybe the canned dog food, whatever that was, may have been okay, but the rest of it was garbage. And we had to go there and get our commodities. And my mom worked 3 jobs. I barely saw her. We raised ourselves basically.
Yeah.
And like that's just what we saw, was just that poverty. And you didn't dream. I mean, if you were that person that like dreamt of something, whatever, like you were just ridiculed for it, because like, who do you think you are? And I've always been that person. And this is hysterical and she's still alive, but she won't see this. My cousin Janie, who was like my best friend, and every time I'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't wait till I can grow up and live on a mountain. And I want the mountain to overlook an ocean. And she would like, literally, she would just smack me in the mouth. And she was like, shut your mouth. What are you talking about? Like, why don't you just learn to live this life? Like I was ungrateful for wherever it was I was living. You weren't allowed to dream, or you were ungrateful for that, tomato soup that you had.
Yeah.
And so it was, but when I grew up, I didn't know I was poor. Like we don't know that we're poor when we're poor. Like we don't know that. So it isn't until later in life you look back and go, oh, people had stuff. I thought everybody went back to school shopping at Goodwill.
Yeah.
I was
or put things on layaway.
Layaway.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I loved layaway. We'd be so excited for Kmart layaway. Oh my gosh. And so I didn't know any better, and I didn't know I was poor. I didn't know that we were poor. So I didn't know that I was supposed to have a certain mindset.
So as you now work with some of the most, car business is an affluent industry.
It is.
And you're speaking to and leading executives, talking to leadership about executives and or talking about executive topics, financials, poverty, money. Do you find where in that paradox and the yin and yang of it all, how did you end up here?
Yeah. So, the thing is like, I do get to speak to millionaires, right? And I don't ever think about them like that. I don't think about how much money they make or
okay.
I don't think about that. I just think about, they have a problem to solve. Can I solve it? But if I could speak to their salespeople and go, you have the opportunity to write your own check by how much effort you put out there. If you put the strategic effort out there, and how can I show you how to not live paycheck to paycheck? if you're sales, it's the greatest job in the world. If you're commission sales, it's the greatest job in the world. And that's the greatest thing I ever learned early in life, was to be commission sales, because then I was like, nobody has a cap on me. Nobody
No.
caps how much money I can make. And I was like, that's cool. I could either trade dollars for hours, or I could trade effort for dollars. And so effort for dollars was always best. And so I'll tell you, like growing up super poor in California, I'm not kidding you when I tell you that we thought it was a game that my mom would come down off the grapevine, which was a pretty steep grade coming into Bakersfield, California. And it was fun. She would turn off the engine and coast in, right? Well, I didn't know that we didn't have gas. And that was how we were making it to the bottom of the hill, as we didn't have gas. And then we would drive past all of these grape orchards, the green Thompson grapes. They call them green table grapes. We always called them Thompson grapes. And we would pull over on the side of the road and just go out there and cut big bunches of grapes and take them with us when we left. Like, I think we were stealing. I was probably 7 or 8, so I didn't know that we were stealing food. And now I look back on it and go, well, there's a lot of grapes we ate. But I think about from there to where I'm at now, and there's been a bunch of highs and lows during that. There's been times whenever I used to detail semi trucks for a living for my dad, and I smelled like diesel fuel all the time, and I had so much grease under my fingernails. There was only one brand of nail polish that would cover the grease that was under my nails that I would have to put on before I'd go to church, so you couldn't see that I had black under my fingernails. And I did that for a while before I decided to become a realtor. Moved from real estate to mortgage, spent a decade in mortgage before the mortgage meltdown happened, back to poverty again, back to losing $1 million worth of houses that we were in the middle of flipping, the car, the boat, the truck, all of the stuff gone. And then go, okay, now I'm in my late 40s. What am I going to do? I thought I would retire doing mortgage like in my life, right? And I'm like, I'm having to refigure out everything. And so I went back to school at like 47.
Okay.
And went to get a business degree. And while I was there, I'm going to tell you this is the God's honest truth. And there's nothing at that small college that I went to get the business degree that taught me what I know today. But if you could keep your mind in a learning state of mind all the time, if you are constantly learning every day something, you can learn something every day, then the cool thing is your brain is open to new ideas. It's open to new thoughts. It's not concreted around this mush in your head. And so being in that learning environment, like I was open, my eyes were opened, and that was in 2012. My eyes were opened up to the fact that there are small businesses that were turning our economy around, and they were struggling as well. And they were the ones that were pulling us out of this recession that had happened. And they didn't have websites. They didn't have a way to market that they could afford. If you were the business owner, entrepreneur, you're also the plumber. You were the one going to market, finding the things to stock your shelves with. You were also the one making sure the light bill was paid. You were also, your cell phone was the one ringing because you couldn't afford to have a phone inside your business as well. And I was like, man, how can we help these people? And I was in that learning mindset, right? And so I was like, what if, and I'm driving, and at this point in my life, I need you to understand, I've already lost everything. I'm renting a house. I'm driving a buy here, pay here minivan with 120,000 miles on it. And I'm thinking, how can I help these people? Like, I probably needed to help my damn self. How can I help these people? And I'm like, how can if they're pulling us out of this recession, how can I help them be seen? And so social media was the answer to that. And I knew that at that time, a Facebook page, if you had 1,000 followers on your Facebook page and you made one post, 1,000 people saw it. That's what the algorithm, it fed it to everybody that was
At that time, yeah.
Yeah. And obviously it's not like that now. We're hoping for 2 people to see it if you have 1,000 followers. And so we started with like, let's put together, my business partner and I, we're best friends. We've been best friends for a long time. We're like, what if we could do this? And she was a flight attendant at the time. And I was still like working some job that I hated at the time too, as far as and going to school. So I commuted an hour, worked 8 hours, commuted an hour back home, and I drove straight to school, and I was in school till 9 p.m. every night, did that thing. And so then we started this business. So now I'm doing this and school and starting a business at the same time. And we started using social media business pages to help all of those businesses, the shoe store, the boutique, the insurance agent, the commercial carpet cleaner, like get them some more exposure, get them seen where they need to be seen, put content out there that people will actually see. And then we started that company in 2013, Social Climber Pro. And then in 2014, a dealership called me and said, hey, we've heard like you're like the person to call for social media, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yep. And I tell this story all the time, and he loves when I tell the story, the GM at that time. And so we negotiate back and forth on, what I'm going to charge to do social media for their dealership. And he's like, well, I need you to work here. I'm offering you a job. And I'm like, but I don't want a job. He's like, well, but you need to work here. And I'm like, no, I don't. And he goes, you don't know anything about automotive, Robin. And I'm like, I didn't know anything about the shoe store, the boutique, the insurance agent, the carpet cleaner. I didn't know anything about those either. He's like, automotive is totally different. You may know everything about social media, but you don't know about automotive.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm like, do you understand that if I come to work there, I'm going to be running my business from your dealership? And he goes, well, what do I care? I'm like, all right, deal. And so that was the thing that he did that was number one, that was really great. And the number two thing that he did that was really great for me is that he made me a manager. And not because of the title, because I wasn't in charge of anybody. But right. I got to sit at the manager's table twice a week. I got to sit with the service manager and the parts manager and the new car manager and the pre-owned manager and the office manager, everybody, and listen to all of the problems they were having, all of the solves that they had, the wins they were having. And my brain I'm a solver. Like if I were a dude, I would be the worst husband ever, because I'd be that one that the minute you come to me and you just want to vent, I'm the one that's always just trying to get in there and solve instead of listening. So I'm like, how can I solve this? How can I solve this problem? They're going to miss their dealer cash if we don't get to 75 Optimus, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, can we do an email campaign, use the BDC, do a lookalike audience on Facebook? I'm like literally solving all this. And so the second greatest thing he did for me was let me be a manager and let me sit at that table and learn everything. I didn't know all of the revenue streams. I didn't know all of the cost centers. I didn't know all of that. And so I got to learn all of that in the dealership. And then after a couple of years working there, then I started serving other dealerships across the country as well.
Great foundation. And it sounds like you, to paraphrase, have gone from rags to riches, back to rags, and don't know where we are on the riches on the path.
I don't even care about riches anymore. As long as I have some good solid tennis shoes. And I mean, you learn that the tangible stuff is just disposable. Like when you lose it all, you're just like, to me, it's like, I don't go, oh my gosh, this precious little thing. I don't anymore. Like, yeah, stuff. How many lives can I affect? That's all I care about.
Yeah. Fair enough. So let's go back to, did you have parents that had a rags to riches story? Did they have that predictive programming, if you will, placed into you?
Nope, just rags.
Just rags.
Yeah, my mom, my grandparents on my mom's side were migrant farm workers that were from Oklahoma and followed the potatoes across the United States and ended up in California. They would be in tent cities. They have these tent cities where all the migrant families would stay while their parents were out harvesting potatoes all day long. And then as the weather changed, they would move the new location as the potatoes were getting ripe, and they were moving whichever direction it was. Okay. And most of my family, most of my aunts and uncles worked in that line of work too. Once we were in California, or once they were in California, they worked at we call it the carrot shed or the potato shed or whatever. And that's once they come, the big dump trucks come and dump all of the produce in there, they have to go through a washing and sorting process. And back then it was like humans pulling them off the line, throwing them in the trash or pushing them over, whatever. They were too small, they were too big, they were rotten, whatever. And so most of my aunts, uncles, and cousins all worked in the produce sheds as well.
Okay.
And my dad's family was probably lower middle class, not a ton of money. They weren't rich, but they weren't at the poverty level my mom's was.
No problem. And in fact, for people that are listening right now, we're going to talk about some tips and tricks within the social space and get your framework for some of those conversations. But in the interim, before we get to that, we want to talk a little bit about Miss Andes. Am I saying that name right?
Miss Andes. Oh, Zandes.
Oh yeah.
It's with a Z. Yes. So my favorite teacher, Miss Zandes. Yes.
Zandes. Okay. See, let me play the clip where you talk about that here.
Okay.
And I love the energy you bring to the table on this, because you're this is one of my favorite stories, right? Amongst all the stories you tell, being a great storyteller that you're being requested to speak at and I can completely see why. And we're glad to have you on the podcast. But listen as the enthusiasm in your voice kind of carries this story. Ooh, hold on. And away we go.
Back in the day, So like this type of paper, this like manila folder type of paper, our report cards came on that back in the day. And they came in a trifold, right? There was 3 areas. He's nodding because he's as old as I am. They came in a trifold for 3 semesters. But on the back was this little space, 3 little spaces for your teacher to write something about you that they wanted your parents to know about you. And when I was 7 or 8, Mrs. Andes wrote on my report card, and I'm going to quote it because I found it the other day, Robin has real leadership abilities. If she could only learn to use them for good and not for evil.
Well, that begs for more conversation. What were you doing as an 8-year-old third grader that was good and evil?
It started in kindergarten, like in kindergarten, if somebody was being treated unfairly, like I was the one that would step in and just I remember getting kicked out of kindergarten because there was a toy, and we didn't really have toys on the playground. There was it was like a 55-gallon drum that they had welded legs on it to look like a cow. And so every kid was getting to climb up on the 55-gallon drum that looked like a cow. It was laying horizontally, so that was the cow body, and everybody was in line to ride the cow. And somebody just went up there and jumped in and didn't do the line, and I just grabbed him by his shirt and jerked him off of the cow because it wasn't his turn. It wasn't my turn either, but I had to go home for that. But it was always something like I was, and that happened my entire academic career. Like, oh my gosh, Robin, you're a leader. How are you going to lead people? Blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, I don't even know what all of that means. And, but probably if anybody was being bullied, I was the one that was going to come and kick your ass.
Yeah. Stand up.
I was that person all the time, but, and probably loud and mouthy too. So
she was saying, be a leader, but be a good leader. But the impact of those words took me to a place I didn't think I would go. So what I did was I dug up the trifold third grade report cards. So I want you to help me diagnose what it was, what my third grade teacher, Mrs. Seymour said about me. You ready?
Yep.
All A honor roll. Watch the talking! ! Term 3. All A honor roll. Could control talking better. How about that? I bet Miss Seymour would love to know I have a podcast today. But what's your take on that kind of predictive programming?
I bet she would not be surprised. Yeah. I'm going to tell you a funny story, not about myself, but about my daughter. So I have five kids, and my youngest one was 4 boys and a girl. And oh my gosh, that child, she was just like me. She was always in trouble in school, not for anything. It was just being disruptive, right? It was just whatever it was, just being disruptive. And my favorite story about her is, I want to say 3rd or 4th grade. And so at the school system she was in, every 2 years, there was a different school building and a different principal. So this was the beginning of her new school building and a new principal. And so I was working at Wells Fargo, and I get a call one day. My secretary says, Miss Arnold is on the phone from Carl Junction Schools, and she'd like to talk to you. I'm like, okay. So I get on the phone. I'm like, hello, Miss Arnold. She'd be like, hello, Miss Wilson. So Shasta's in my office today for whatever. It was constant something. I'm like, okay, thank you. I'll take care of it. Get home, get her in trouble. She's in trouble for whatever. I had literally removed a door from her bedroom, her electrical outlets. I'd tried everything. And then by week 2, now it's Connie. So, hey, Connie's on the phone. Hey, Connie. Hey, Robin. We're on a first name basis, me and the principal now, after 2 weeks of school. And so she says, okay, well, Shasta's in my office right now. I don't even remember what this thing was about. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, all right, I'll handle it. So I get home that night and I'm like, Shasta, for the love of God, you just have 8 hours. Can you just not for 8 hours? I said, I'm telling you, tomorrow, that woman had better not call me. Do you understand? She had better not call me. She just better not. And so the next day, Connie Godwin calls me again, and she's laughing hysterically. She goes, I'm sorry, I've got my back turned to Shasta so she can't see me through the window. She's like, I have to tell you, that when I was getting onto Shasta today, she put one hand on her hip and one finger out, and she's like, my mom said, you better not call her one more time. Do you hear me? Not one more time. I was hysterical laughing. She was hysterical laughing. It was so funny. And so that is just, and it's funny because like as big of a pain in the rear as she was during school, like one time I got called to a faculty meeting with 14 school members, whatever they were, the lunch lady, the bus driver, they were all there. Okay. And they were all telling me what a disruption she was, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what? And like, here's the things that I've done. And they were really trying to get me to put her on Ritalin or Adderall or whatever they put little kids on. And I'm like, here's all the things I've tried. What have you tried? I'm like, at the end of the day, someday you guys are going to call me and go, oh my gosh, that girl was in my class. That girl was in my class. I said, because she's not a Stepford student. I know who she is. And I know that it's rough on you right now, but you don't get to have 20 perfect children in your class every year. So adapt. I'm going to do my part. You do your part. We'll get to the end of this year and it'll be somebody else's problem next year. She's the CMO of my company now. And most of the people she went to high school with, she has employed, trained, given them a position, fed their families, made sure they had food on the table. And so I think that we talk about self-limiting beliefs, but when you're born into poverty, you're born with not just self-limiting beliefs, but limiting beliefs that other people put on you. And you decide, just like a fence, you decide to take it or not take it.
You're going to love this. So I go back to, I'm like, who's my favorite teacher from elementary school in these trifolds? So it happened to be 5th grade, Mr. Howard. Guess what Mr. Howard wrote? You ready?
Mm-hmm. Nothing.
He let me be me. Right.
My favorite one was 5th grade too. And his name was Mr. Arnold.
Okay.
And he took the time to not just tell me what a problem I was, but tell me the things that I needed to learn. Like he taught me the definition of tact.
Okay. Yeah.
And how to use it and what it looked like when you were talking to somebody without tact or talking to people with tact. He gave me the tools that I needed to be able to change myself, other than just telling me I'm a problem without giving me any tools.
To be able to see that at that early age and to take that with you and carry that with that's a very powerful thing. I will say too, I come from a family of educators. And I love them all dearly. I've chosen not to be a participant in that path. I am the black sheep out here working with car dealers, more on the paid click side of things, more on the operational advertising side of things. Mm-hmm. But hey, it is an educational journey, not unlike yours, that keeps growing and developing year after year, day after day, season after season. So let's talk about one of the biggest changes I can recollect within the social area in the car community, if not the world. And it had to be, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. I'll quickly say TikTok changed the algorithm from engagement to interest.
Yep.
And then everything else kind of domino followed because it was so effective. How is that impactful, if at all, to car dealers or if at all to society? Pick one, the other, it's up to you.
Well, think about the fact that Facebook has been the dominator since 2006, 7, whenever it rolled out from the colleges to the public, right? It has been the one to chase all the time. And so it dictated how we got views, how we got engagement. It dictated everything. Then Musical.ly happened, and then Musical.ly became TikTok and ByteDance. And then COVID happened, right?
Right.
And then COVID, we're all stuck somewhere. And we've all binge watched everything already. They can't produce anything because they can't get any.
No more Tiger King. Yeah, it's over. Yeah.
That was horrible. And so now we've got a platform where our entertainment is being created by the guy across the street, the guy in Ohio, the guy over here, that this idiot over here, that this gymnasium person over here, whatever you're interested in, they're just creating content. The UGC, user generated content, is now flooding, and we can swipe for hours. And remember first in COVID, you'd swipe for a while and then it would go, hey, you've been on here for a minute. Do you need to take a break? It would literally pop up a message to you and go, do you think you might need to take a break and get up? And so they became so dominant so fast because it was the perfect. And I think Clubhouse, the same thing, right? Clubhouse launched about the same time. And so it became so dominant because we were all held hostage during that time.
We had time on our hands. Back to your construct. What's the denominator is a very key thing in life. If the denominator is money, That's different. If the denominator is time,
Right.
those experiences change everything. So the denominator we had on our side was time, and thus we're scrolling on our phones forever.
Yeah, forever. And so now, because it was that way, and because Zuckerberg could see the shift happening, you saw him loosening up the reels. He opened up reels, right? So reels were a part of it now. Even YouTube following that and going shorts, right? People have a shorter attention span. Why we got long form video out here whenever this is what they want? And so we've seen them follow. And I'll tell you the truth, like Mark has been chasing crap forever. If we think about, let's go back, oh my gosh, to Meerkat and
hold on, let me put on my Mark Zuckerberg glasses while you discuss this topic. Go ahead.
Call him on the phone.
Speak freely.
So whenever the live streaming first happened online, right? So Meerkat came out first and Gary Vee jumped behind it, went knees deep, invested in Meerkat. Yeah. And before it could really even kick off, Periscope launched. And Periscope dominated because they paired with Twitter. They had EdgeRank. They had all of the things that they needed to be able to go farther. And within nobody even knows what Meerkat is anymore, right?
I remember, but go ahead.
And so Facebook didn't have Facebook Live. So that was in the spring because it happened around South by Southwest, because that's where Gary Vee announced that he was like, live streaming Meerkat, blah, 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 blah. And then Periscope came out, and we had from the spring until about the late fall, early winter, before Facebook started tiny bit rolling out Facebook Live. And you just have to open your app and see if you had the red dot, because they didn't want to crash their entire platform. So they were rolling it out to celebrities and athletes and anybody who was had a platform. So I remember I opened up a new Facebook profile that said that I was like an online training coach or whatever, to see if I could get it first. And so then they started rolling it out to like a number of people at a time. So you literally would just get it in a bunch, like 500,000 people the next day would get the red button. And so he's been chasing all of those things all along. And you can guarantee that he's always going to catch it and gobble it up. He's going to get there because he's got more money. He's got more investors. He's got more of the dev team to do the things because he's the behemoth in the room. And so he isn't really innovating. He's just chasing and gobbling up what somebody else already creates, to be fair.
Well, I think too, just to add to the conversation, his lack from having had the experience where Facebook, where he made a lot of great plays, there's a movie that documents this, he still wasn't the hardware. And so the latest edition, I showed the glasses, but he tried to do the Oculus headsets. And with the headsets, that's kind of crash and burn because it's just too clunky, too much trouble. It's a great experience, but not that many people are willing to go through all the rigmarole. Now with the glasses, that's more mainstream. I'm seeing some people use them, but this is more about his willingness to do whatever it takes to not have the experience where Apple through the iPhone or Google through the Samsung phones controlled the elements of his capabilities. Right. He's trying to buy a market where he is no longer the software, where he is the hardware. That's my take. Yeah.
And, you know, it's funny because if you go back to like 2017, maybe 2018, when these Snapchat glasses came out, if anybody remembers them, they were so short-lived. They were in, they were back out again. And then like for it to roll back around again, that we're all like, oh, this is a cool thing again. But so the interest base, so I preach this all the time, right? Because people are like constantly, I have dealers constantly. And if you guys are listening right now, please pay attention and take a note.
Taking notes. I got my pen. Go.
Followers do not matter.
No, they do not.
And so quit chasing how many followers that you have, because I've taken over Facebook pages that had 12,000 followers on it that was dead as a 3-day-old corpse.
Literally. Can I be a dealer though? Can I be a dealer persona to like argue with you? Not that I'm being argumentative, but you ready? I am the number one volume dealer in this state. I'm going to be the number one volume liker on Facebook. It's all about volume. I don't care how much it costs. I want to be number one on likes and number one on sales. And those two things are related in my mind. What do you got to say about that, Robin?
I'm going to take you back to as a consumer. How many things come through your social media feed every day that you stop and consume? And do you stop and go over and like their page? Or do you just consume it and scroll on? And if what you're saying is, Mr. Dealer, that this is important, then why aren't you taking that action? Why aren't you liking and following these pages that you're consuming?
Robin, I just want to be number one.
Huh? I
I'm
mean,
not.
you're
Yeah.
the customer, sir, and I will spend your money however you want it. I'm just telling you, best practices is to get content that is consumable, that people want to watch, and that I am more invested in my non-follower metrics than I am in my follower metrics.
Yeah. And with the interest topics, you could actually, well, let's talk about this on two levels. You as a dealer can create arguably more intriguing, more interesting content that gets consumed by more people than even the OEM.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's just put that over here. And then over here, let's go talk about the AI capabilities with graphics and video now. Like this thing is about to, you don't need $1 million production budget. You don't need to fly out to the California hills. You can do this thing in about 30 seconds with a real solid command prompt on VO.
I mean,
You tell me.
Probably longer than 30 seconds, but yeah, I get you.
Fair enough.
Because they're all like 8 to 10 second videos, and you have to string together enough of them with character continuity, which you need. I love it. I made a video because I play with VO and Nano Banana. I play with AI all the time.
Banana. What's the one just for the people listening?
Nano Banana.
Nano Banana. Yep,
Nano
exactly.
Banana. So I play with them enough, and I have an AI team here that we're growing right now. That I had someone reach out to me, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that military video that you did is amazing. Can you tell me what app you used to make that?" I'm like, "App? I used 4 different pieces of software and a half a day of my life. That's what I used to make that thing." And so it's not perfect yet. But it evolves so fast. I literally created an app yesterday. I have a grandson that's 3 years old that he doesn't miss story time any night ever. And he has 3 books that generally you read from. He'll go, "I want to read this book, or this book," right? And so one night, like I couldn't find his books anywhere. He was staying at my house. And so I just made up this story about these people named Boomer and Doug. And they were riding through my neighborhood on their bicycles. And they were like 7 or 8. And they rode past Grandma Robbie's house. And then they went down by my business partner, Beverly, lives like 5 houses down from me. And we literally just call her Uncle Bev. It's just funny to us. So Brody calls her Uncle Bev also. And so I was like telling him, and then Boomer and Doug rode past, blah blah blah, rode past Uncle Bev's house. I tell him this whole story. The next night he's like going, what did Boomer and Doug do today? And so I was having to make up another story about Boomer and Doug. And so yesterday, my AI team and I are challenging each other to be in Google's AI Studio and create apps. And so yesterday I was like, I wonder if I can make an app that will regenerate a story. And so I did. It's freaking awesome. I did it in one day. I put 4 different character scenarios in there. He gets to choose every night what story he wants, whether he wants Boomer and Doug. He has 2 stuffed animals, which are Dabo and Guy. One's a dinosaur, one's a purple elephant. He has, that's another scenario. He has his uncle has 2 wiener dogs, which are Stella and Ollie. So there's a whole other scenario in there. And then I put Boomer and Doug in there. And I was like, I created this app where he could literally, his dad could select, do you want a story about Boomer and Doug today, or Stella and Ollie, or do you want Dabo and Guy? And so he can pick, and then it gets to pick what the scenario is of the story. Are they moving? Are they exploring something new? Is it for snow day? Are they learning how to share? And it generates this whole story with images in it, and it regenerates itself every time you push the button. I created that in one day for my grandson.
Right.
Okay. And so if we didn't need to get off on the AI trail, but if we're going back,
it's fine. Yeah.
So we're going back to the interest based. If we're seeing a huge trend in people consuming AI content, whether it's AI images or AI video, and you're not doing it, then you're acquiescing to them to have that part of your market. So whoever gets there first and best is going to be the one that just really dominates.
For sure. So and therein lies the challenge for an operationally minded dealer who's thinking in terms of 30-day windows, tops, typically, not 90 or 120, because I mean, there's so much control within the algorithms. Google can choose to endorse and elevate things with AI in them or suppress them based on their whims, really. Mm-hmm. And I don't have the answer to that. Do you?
No, the answer for me is always like, don't rely on it 100%. Like,
yeah.
So like if you're relying on funny salespeople videos for your entire content strategy, and all of your young 25-year-olds go to work somewhere else, and you're left with those 50 and 60-year-olds that don't want to make a video, are you screwed again? Yes.
Yes.
So if you have a good content mix in your social media, which is, skit videos, and then if you're not becoming the trusted advisor in the car buying process, meaning you're not telling them when's your mileage marker to rotate your tires, where is your cabin air filter located so you can check it yourself instead of going like, oh my God, my AC just stopped blowing. No, it didn't. It's just clogged up with cat hair and half a squirrel. And if you can be the educator for people and understand that it takes them about 22 times of seeing you and your messaging before they start going, I know them. And I go back to, I don't know if you know who Adam Marburger is, but Adam lives in St. Louis. I live in Joplin, Missouri. And Adam and I on social media cross paths all the time, industry events, blah, 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 blah. And it was at Digital Dealer at NADA in Dallas 3 times ago, whenever
I was there. Yeah.
And I was at a party where Adam was at, and I was like so excited to see him and blah, 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 because we talk all the time. And I didn't realize that I had never met him face to face because I didn't know he was that tall.
Okay.
That's how I knew I hadn't met him. In my mind, I already knew him. Like in my mind, we had already met each other until we both saw each other face to face. And we're like, this is the first time we've ever been in person. You want your customers to feel like that as well. You want them to consume so much of you and about you that they understand who you are, that you're an old friend the minute that they see you. And the only way to do that is to be authentic, to be transparent, which is like venom in the automotive industry, but to really just be going, how do I relay who we are as a dealership on social media so that when they get here, who are my salespeople? Who are my managers? Because I'm going to tell you something, and every one of you viewers can get mad if they want to, but
hey, that's great. You know what? They can subscribe, and you haven't really arrived till you've got haters. And so if they hate something that's being said, put it down there. We'll respond to it. We'll engage with it. We want to hear what you got to say. Yeah. So go ahead. Hit them, Rob. Hit it where it hurts.
Your managers that are expecting your salespeople to post twice to social media every day, and you aren't even posting once a week. Shame on you. Do not ask your team to do something you're not willing to do. And if you believe that it's going to move the needle for them to post on social and to tell who they are, what they do, where they do it, how they do it, what they do on the weekends, if they're a soccer dad, if they're not, if you expect them to do that thing and you're not doing it, clock out and go home. I mean, shame on you for not being willing to do the thing that you're expecting them to do. Speed of the leader, speed of the team.
Yeah. And a lot of times it gets handed off to the person who is either the most talented and busiest or the person who seems like they need some additional work responsibilities because they're reading a book.
Well, because that's where they value it down here. However, they're like, right. What are you guys doing? Just standing around on your phone, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? Like I was talking to Patrick Brown, and Patrick was with Viva for a long, long time. And now he's with the Steel Automotive Group. And he's like telling me that their pay plan was that each salesperson had a 3-2-1 requirement, 3 stories a day, 2 posts a day, 1 video a day, 1 reel a day. That was part of their pay plan. And I said, okay, well, that's all well and good, but do they know what they're posting and why they're posting? Or are they just checking a box? And are you churning employees out because you're making them do a thing that's not moving the needle for them because they don't know why they're doing it? So they're just posting garbage all day long that nobody's seeing. Facebook doesn't like it. TikTok doesn't like it. Nobody likes it because there's not any value in there. And now they're just mad because they have to do this thing, right? It's just doing a thing in spite of it. And he was like, you're right, they don't know it. And so I had created Social Grenade app for that, to solve that problem for salespeople, to actually do 90% of the creative work for them already so that they had content. They had valuable content about service and finance tips and their OEM vehicles in there and engaging stuff like, I don't know, it's Taco Tuesday. Are you soft taco or crunchy taco? That stuff, when we go to social media, if we will study how we behave as consumers, because I am a consumer, if we will study, what do I slow down on? What do I stop on? Why did I slow down on that? Why did I stop on that? And then go, okay, if I want customers that are just like me and I stopped on this and I slowed down on this, won't they as well? I mean, if I'm at the restaurant waiting for the waitress to come back and I'm scrolling, like that's what we do, or at the stoplight or wherever the crap people do it, what am I looking for? I'm looking to be entertained. So if you don't have a portion of that that's entertainment or educational, I'm just scrolling because it's just chatter, right? And so we don't think about that. Like I'm on social, not as a consumer. I'm on there learning. Like I'm literally studying the trends. I'll scroll and I'll look at posts and I'll go, this one had 85 comments on it, and I'll scroll back to it and go, what was it? Why did 85 people comment on this post? I did one today. And it's a dealer friend of mine, Billy Whitaker from up north.
New York. Yeah.
And he had posted today, it's Monday. What kind of car are you? You know what I'm saying? It was
Okay.
just that simple.
Yeah.
He literally has like 100 comments on that post. And he literally just a text post, and he put it on there, and like 85 people are commenting. If I'm Monday, my car, I'm a Saturn, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I study, and you guys should be studying too. And you should be studying like, what are people slowing down and stopping on, and how can we get on that trend? How can we get in that feed as well?
Now, is Social Grenade a product you offer presently, or?
Oh yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Okay.
We launched it at NADA this year in New Orleans. We launched
Okay. So if you send me a link, I'll put them in the show notes so people can follow up on that particular product. I will also mention, I'll just share something that I use often, and I think dealers will love it, is Google Trends, because it shows me for my area, if not nation, but if for my state or even my DMA, what is trending in the last month, 24 hours. And I'm in this business with the competition. You can see all the sports, memorabilia around me.
A little bit of conflict going on there.
Yeah. How do you mean?
Well, I mean, we have the Dolphins and we have the Colts.
The Dolphins is from their perfect season. So I'm always fascinated by what happens to bring a team together to finish at the highest levels.
Right.
So that is a growth thing for me. And, they always say that now generationally, it's like done is better than perfect, back to another Mark Zuckerberg thing or something that's often attributed to him. And I'm like, well, perfect's pretty good too. I'm not a perfectionist. I don't stop, because in this business, let me ask you this question. Would you rather be fast right or slow wrong?
For me, fast. I'd rather be fast, because if I'm fast, then I've got a chance to fix it so many more times other than the slow person.
So yeah, you want to be fast right always. That's the way, versus slow wrong. But the middle ground that we're talking about here is oftentimes in this industry, you're better off being fast wrong versus slow right. Slow right can be,
and I'm okay with fast wrong, because for people. So Beverly, my business partner, is she struggles with indecision, right?
Okay.
And she'll mull over, and by the time she made a decision, which she thinks is the right decision, I've made 17 wrong decisions and learned all 17 times.
Iterated.
The right one on 18, right? But I wouldn't have learned. I think there was somebody who was talking about a test that they'd given to students, and they told one group of students to make as many vases as possible, pottery class, many vases as possible.
Okay.
You can get put out, blah, 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 blah. And then this one, they said, put out the perfect piece of pottery.
Okay.
And when they got to the end of it, the people who had made the most pottery had the better vessels than the ones who made the perfect one, because they had done it. It wasn't right. They did it again. They did it again. They did it again. They did it again. By the time they got to the last one that they could create, it was the best one that they ever created.
Yeah. So, and back to the deal with Google Trends, a lot of the events that pop up on 24-hour windows happen to be sporting events. There's a great deal of interest there. There's an effective, efficient way to market to people in that community. I used to work at Nike as well, but I just find that refreshing. I also know that simply by mentioning Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift's engagement right here, right now, we probably got 400 more viewers on the YouTube shorts that'll come out of that one, because the engagement level will go through the roof.
Of course it will. Of course it will.
Yeah.
And you want to know what? It's so funny, because I live in Missouri, so I'm a Chiefs fan anyways.
Yeah.
Go to the games, go to Arrowhead all the time. And people are like, I literally unfriended someone for just talking crap on that girl. And it was, and not because I'm a Taylor fan, her song could be playing on the radio and I wouldn't know it was her. To be fair, I don't consume music. I just consume audiobooks and podcasts or whatever. And I wouldn't know it. But if you are saying, I don't like her because now that during my football game, they're cutting away to her in the stands and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, number one, and whatever her political views are, that's her decision to make, and how much she shares it, that's on her. I have my own too. So if you hate me because of mine, whatever, who gives a crap? We weren't going to be friends anyways.
Right.
She's a billionaire. She's a billionaire. Literally. And she creates economies. She's generous. She has no bad press. She has no, I got drunk in this bar and fell down and mascara smeared down her face like Britney Spears. She kept herself in this tight little world. She still is kind to her mom and her dad. She is the person that you would want your daughter to grow up to be.
Right.
Why you have shit to say?
Well, no, well, I think, you know what? I'm going to take it full circle. the thing with engagement, which was very efficient for Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook, created polarity.
Mm-hmm.
And so, interestingly enough, politics creates polarity. I remember growing up in my timeline of Gen Xness that I am, the race really wasn't a thing. We almost didn't see it, and politics was not something you talked about. Race, religion, politics, kind of stayed away from it. Now there's a lot of race and a lot of politics on apps that I am like, okay, I work in Facebook, so I'm not spending my time on Facebook. I'm trying to find the buyers for my clients like you do.
Yep.
But that's got to be a struggle for you with knowing that polarity creates engagement, and engagement is part of the package that produces the dopamine biologically, physiologically, that consumers use to engage. How do you deal?
So I say the same things that you're just saying, right? I'll tell everybody, stay away from politics, stay away from religion, whatever you do, stay away from those, stay away from any race baiting or gender baiting, any of that stuff right there. Like, don't even participate in it. Like, don't click a like on a post, don't share it, don't do that thing. And I have a girl who works for me that really struggled with this. And I just told her, I said, look, you alienate 50% of your audience. They just will do it because that's how we've been programmed right now. I talk politics with my friends, and there's probably like only 3 of them. On a back porch somewhere while we're having a glass of wine, we will talk about whatever. But most of the time, honestly, I'm not someone who watches the news. If they come and knock on my door and tell me what's going on, they'll be like, okay, maybe I need to be concerned with this. But I feel like we're being manipulated by the media, all of the outlets, every dang one of them, no matter what their initials are, they're all manipulating us to whatever story they want us to hear. And so I tell all of the salespeople that I train, stay away from this for the love of God. Find something that you are interested in, whether you love fishing. I was training some salespeople 2 weeks ago in Loveland, Colorado, and 2 of the 20 salespeople that were there were like all about fragrance. And they're like, we are like all about what's the next fragrance we're going to get, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. I said, if you go back and watch old Gary Vee stuff, when he did Wine Library TV, and you may do, we're going to test this scent against this scent today. See what we like about this one, and this is the one I recommend, or whatever. And maybe the opening of your video starts with a slow motion spritz of the moisture pellets shooting out of the bottle, and that's the visual hook that stops them. And then you go into, this is what we're talking about today. And you're not going to tell them ahead of time which ones you're going to review. You're just popping those up there. I'm like, find the things that make you you. Stay away from the national conversations that don't belong to you. Vote. Always vote your conscience, vote whatever you're raised to vote by, do that thing. I'm going to tell you to do that, but it is none of my business who you vote for. That's why back in the day, they used to have booths that had a curtain that shut, because it was no one's business. It is still no one's business how you vote. And I support you no matter who you vote for, just vote. And if you don't vote and you gripe, shut up. And you don't have a right to say anything. So
let's take what you're saying here.
I want them to find some controversy somewhere, but it doesn't have to be the same thing that everybody else is fighting about. It can be, this is my friend Joe. He's an Android user. I'm an iPhone user. I cannot find anything on his phone. How do you Android users do this, right? And there can be conflict built in there without it having to be the stuff that's taboo.
Yeah, and so let's go back to the beginning that we talked about as children with parents and then teachers. At what point have phones taken over some of that, right? Of that communication path for developmentally. I have a saying that the coping mechanisms that somebody develops between the ages of 8 and 13 are often the same ones that they utilize as full-fledged adults in their 20s, 30s, 40s. It's really hard once that pattern is established. It's easier to see it in others than it is in ourselves. But do you think we have a generation where the phone is the coping mechanism? The phone is the media outlet. The phone is the center of the marketing universe. Is that good or bad?
So, well, I'm a boomer, so I'm going to be very opinionated on this.
Go for it.
There is some weak parenting that's going on. That is the easy cop out, is to put the thing in front of their face and to go, oh, did you want your tablet now because you're upset and you don't want to eat dinner? You don't want to do this thing because you don't have your tablet. You don't want blah, 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 because you want your tablet. Oh, you want my phone because that's where we're at and I want you to be quiet. Other than parenting them in a restaurant to, this is how we behave in a restaurant. And so I think that we've become We have become lazy as parents as far as teaching them how to control their emotions whenever they're unhappy with something. And our Band-Aid has been the device.
For sure.
And so it's going to go back to, you guys can be mad about this generation, but how did you contribute to it? Did you start it with your kids? Do you have a 5-year-old with their own phone? What is the thing right there? And so if you want your kids to learn how to play outside, and you give them all the devices to stay inside, you're in trouble. And another thing too, as far as the coping skills, and I think probably, no offense, Gen X, but I think Gen X, I think the younger Gen X is really kind of screwed up a generation. And I'm going to say this, and I'm very sincere about this. Participation trophies and letting everybody be a winner and everybody gets a ribbon. These children never learned how to cope with loss. They never knew how to cope with disappointment, because we never let them fail. We never let them fail at anything. And so you see these high suicide rates in these young people, because when they get out from underneath all the people that protected them for years, failure is a common thing. And if you don't know how to deal with that on a regular basis, sometimes a day by day by day by day basis, depending on what job or career you're in, and they have not built up any coping skills of how to deal with failure, they don't know anything else other than stop this experience from happening. And so I think we have to go back to letting kids fail, letting them fall down, letting them skin their knees. We don't want to bubble wrap them and do whatever. And I'm not saying the way I was raised as a boomer is the right way either. But right. I think we always go we want things to be easier for our kids. I'm like, why? I turned out pretty cool, I think. Why do I want it to be easier on them? Why do we want that? And so I could have stayed in a poverty mindset. I could have stayed in that right there. But all of the things that I didn't have as a child provided for me drove me to be able to go, what can I create for myself? Like, nobody gave it to me. How can I create, if I want that thing? My dad told me one time, and I'm his only child. He told me one time, I was looking at, back when Car Trader magazines were actually magazines, and they were,
I remember.
They were on newspaper print. They weren't even on glossy. Yep. And I saw a Mercedes Gullwing in one. I remember I was 15, and I was like, whoa, that is cool. I want one of those. I can't wait until my husband go buy me a Mercedes Gullwing. And he got so mad at me, and he goes, buy your own Mercedes Gullwing. What do you need some man to buy you a car? And I was like, I had never heard those words before, that I was capable of buying my own Mercedes Gullwing. And so I think that we've got to start thinking like that again too, and go, you know what? God gave us imaginations, and the gooey warm center of our brains is meant to create. We're put on earth to create. Our creator made us to be creators, whatever it is that we're creating, whether it's our reality or if it's jobs or if it's a widget or art. We were put on this earth to create. And the minute that you stop creating and stop learning, then you might as well just be dying, because you've got to create your own imagination too. Like, use your kids have to be able to use their imagination. And that doesn't mean watching Miss Rachel for 3 hours a day. It doesn't mean, Blippi is the guy. And my grandson, I created this app so that we could have story time with him. And so that is still screen time, right? Because I created an app right there, but I don't want him zoning out. I watched him do this thing where he holds a tablet and he'll watch 15 seconds and rewind it to the beginning and rewind it to the beginning and rewind it to the beginning. I'm like, Brody, what are you doing? Watch the whole stupid, what are you doing? I don't know what's short circuiting in his brain that's doing that thing. I'm like, okay, we're done with this tablet. Let's go outside and ride our bikes. Yeah. And so I think that it's hard, because I was raised with no technology. And I didn't get my first computer till I was in my 30s. You were raised with a bit more technology than I was. And as they come along, it's been more and more and more inundated. But I think it's our job to protect our children or we're going to have a whole generation of people that don't create anything.
Well, we're headed that way.
Yeah. If we don't get them back to imagining.
Yeah. And thankfully, AI is a way to help reimagine things technologically, to all good things in moderation.
You have to think about how to prompt it. What do I want it to make? What do I think would be cool? And then you make the machine do the thing, right? But you're still using your brain to go. But some people are going to ChatGPT and going, hey, what are 17 really cool apps that I could make? And they're not even thinking for themselves.
Which crypto should I buy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that. So the big takeaway from our conversation today is that words mean things. Even not saying something means something in some circumstances. Right. And so as kind of a wrap up on this, I know dealers are often asking me and you mentioned one of them, your product, let's go outside of the window that you're in. Is there an app, a tech stack, a thing you've heard about? It's not a paid political advertisement. It's just, this is the question they're asking. And if they made it an hour into our episode and have listened to all of our other talk, what is it that you'd say to a dealer, coming into next year that they should be looking at going, give this a try? Mm-hmm. Do you have something out there?
Well, I would obviously always pitch Social Grenade, because I know that those salespeople, if they will understand that they are an entrepreneur, they are commission salespeople and have the ability to create wealth.
They are the brand.
Yeah, they can create wealth if they will just do. I mean, you think about Frank Crenetti, right? Like, sells 100 cars a month, and his social media is popping every day. So it's possible to do both. And so whenever you tell me that you're a 6 car a month guy and you don't have time to post on social media, I'm telling you that you're lying to yourself, your mom, your aunt, and your boss that yes, you do. Yeah. And so I think if we could get those little armies, like, think about a dealership that has 20 salespeople. If they were all using Social Grenade and all of them were posting to social every day as they should, and getting the name and telling people what they do and where they do it for no ad spend, the amount of awareness that dealership is going to get is crazy. And they could literally now fine tune their marketing with you and go, let's dial this in right now. And we may get lower leads right now, but I want a higher quality lead right now, because they're self-generating their warm first party leads now. So we've got this coming in right now. We can fine tune this, spend more money on a different type of audience and bring them in. So that, I'm going to pitch that for sure. There's a ton of other great products out there. I think there's some really great trade tools out there. And I have some great friends that really work with building buying centers as well. If you can buy your own vehicles, you're in control of what your market is coming in, instead of relying on the auctions. So
yeah, if I could find one thing that's helped solve that problem to make dealers more profitable next year, that would be it.
Yeah. Well, there's a good friend of mine named Daryl Steed, and he's Smart Wolf Consulting, and that's all he does. He doesn't focus on anything else in the automotive space other than helping you create buying centers, helping you with a different mindset learn how to start attracting people to come sell their cars there instead of anywhere else.
So that's another person that you could reach out to and connect with, because I know that is a challenge, not from a marketing and advertising necessarily that it's helpful, but from operationally executing that is mission critical for dealerships across the nation. Robin, thank you for joining me today. I enjoyed the conversation. Hope to have you back sometime. Absolutely. If you hang on for a couple minutes, we will get more of the details, but otherwise we're signing off with another great podcast episode. Thanks, Robin.
Bye.